So now I'm going to switch over to talk about alternative and complementary medicines a little bit. I'm not going to talk about any specific treatment. I'm going to talk about how to think about them, because you're going to come up against hundreds of treatments and make this decision over and over and over your lives. And so you need a framework to think about it. Can I ask how many people in this room's child utilize something that perhaps the medical establishment might think would be more complementary? It's a huge number. It's a huge number. And so the first thing I want to teach is that when you explore the information that's out there, you're going to come across hundreds and hundreds of things. So the first thing you're going to have to do is narrow it down to the things that seem to you to make sense in some way, and then start to go down the evaluation of those things. And one of the things you're going to have to say is, what are the side effects of this? When we say side effects, most people think medical. But there's also side effects into cost. There can be side effects into your family's lifestyle. Think about certain highly restrictive diets. There can also be behavioral side effects if your child doesn't want to comply with that treatment, and sometimes that's more significant than perhaps the benefit you're going to get from that treatment. Obviously pain, and then time. And in some cases it's time because you're not going to be able to spend as much time doing other things because you need to do this. You know, if we talk about patterning, which is not something used in treating autism, it's literally hours a week, which can have a fairly negative impact upon a family. You want to think carefully about, what do you want this treatment to do for your child? So, you have to be disciplined and say, I want to try this supplement, and what I'm expecting is it's going to make my child's attention span better. And it's going to do that in a couple months. Because if you don't, there's sort of this global, okay, I put him on the vitamin now. I don't know, is he sleeping better? Is he vomiting? Is he eating better? So you want to think about, what is this treatment purported to do? And is that an effect that happens in 2 days or in 2 months? So that in your mind you know what you're following and what you're looking for. Does it fit with the rest of his treatment plan? And if so, great. And if not, you may have to make some priorities about what treatment's important to you right now. If a child's being overwhelmed with all kinds of therapies, you may have to say, well, right now we're going to cut back on physical therapy because we're putting more emphasis on hippotherapy. And talk that over with your therapist and let them know that's the decision that you've made because your child's overscheduled and you're overscheduled. And then you want to think about the scientific validity to some extent. First, does the theory make sense to you? If the theory doesn't make sense to you in how the body works, then it's probably not something that you want to explore. And then what research is out there and what did it show? In many cases you're going to find there's nothing. But an important thing for you to know is that not all research is equivalent. And a lot of research that is out there, even showing benefits of certain treatment, is really preliminary information that may or may not ever be really true when a large study is done. A large study might show that it doesn't have a benefit. So a lot of those small cohort studies, they're good information. And gosh, wouldn't we like to have a study with 100 kids with autism? And that probably will never be funded, and so you're stuck with the information you have. But don't take it as gospel. And that's also true when a small study shows that something doesn't work, because it probably doesn't have enough power to exclude a benefit. So you have to know a little bit, and that's one thing you can ask your clinician. I saw this study on the use of the gluten-free diet. How good a study is that? How strong of results are that? Or is there a better study out there, a bigger study that I don't know about that would give me different information? Obviously, what do other families say about the treatment? I'll tell you that in a treatment for fragile bone disease, one time I sat with a family group like this and I went over all the scientific information and how preliminary it was, and we didn't know the impacts long term. And then a family member got up and said, my child's on it and it's been great, and everybody wanted it. So I know how much weight families play, and that's not necessarily, I'm not saying that that's bad. You know, I'm saying that I know you're going to want to know what other families' experiences have been, both good and bad, with any treatment. Respect placebo response. Anything you do for your child, there is a 40 to 60% chance that it will make things better for a while, and it's not really doing it. It's placebo. So you have to keep that in mind. Even if you, and the more investment you have in a treatment, the more likely it's going to have some placebo impact. And also keep in mind big red flags. If something cures everything and doesn't have any side effects, that's a huge red flag. If somebody's making huge amounts of money off of something, that's a huge red flag. And you want to think twice about that. And then once you've decided to take the plunge, you want to be very clear what you're expecting to change. How are you going to observe for that? Can your PT help you decide whether your child's balance is getting better over the next 3 months? Who can give you some information? And how long are you going to go? Are you going to go 2 weeks, and if it hasn't helped, stop? You can go 3 months, and it hasn't helped, stop. Is there any medical monitoring that needs to be done? And that, I want to stop and say, has anybody got any questions about that? Or has anybody had the experience of evaluating a therapy and then deciding, you know what, that's not for us?